The phone rings. Your boss's name appears on the screen. Your heart stops because you were expecting this call. Last week, the project was postponed. This week, the budget was cut, and no one knows what tomorrow will bring. You answer the phone. We need to downsize the company. 5 years of your career summed up in one sentence, a 30-second conversation. And now you're sitting there, staring blankly, unable to say anything. Is this your story? Maybe not, but in some way, it's all of our stories. A crisis isn't just getting laid off. A crisis is someone leaving the team the day before a big presentation. A crisis is a client saying, I'm canceling 3 days before the end of the month. A crisis is everything going according to plan, and then suddenly, everything falling apart. And what do you do in that moment? Panic, freeze, chaos, because no one taught you what to do in a crisis. You made plans, you built strategies, but none of them worked. Because a crisis doesn't follow the rules. But 400 years ago, a Japanese samurai solved this problem. Miyamoto Musashi. He fought 63 duels. He won all 63. How? Not with technique, not with strategy, with something else. Embracing uncertainty. In this video, I'll show you exactly that. I'll explain why you freeze in a crisis, how your brain betrays you, and how to turn any uncertainty into an advantage using the 3 principles Musashi employed. But know this isn't a theoretical video. I'll give you a concrete, actionable, real-world system that works. And once you learn this system, you'll never look at a crisis the same way again. If you're ready, let's begin. Chapter 1. How your brain betrayed you. Do you know exactly what happens in your body during a crisis? Your brain's amygdala, the danger detection center, sounds the alarm. Your cortisol levels skyrocket. Your heart rate increases. Your breathing becomes shallow. And worst of all, your prefrontal cortex, the region responsible for logical thinking, planning, and problem solving, shuts down. I'm serious. At the very moment you need to think logically, your brain's logical thinking center goes offline. Why? Evolution. Thousands of years ago, when a predator spotted you, you didn't have time to think. You couldn't engage in logical analysis. You had only 3 options: fight, flee, or freeze. Today, that predator isn't your boss, but your brain doesn't know the difference. When it senses a threat, it activates the same system. And there you are, frozen, unable to find words, unable to make decisions. That's why the advice to stay calm doesn't work. You're not fighting a lack of calmness, you're fighting millions of years of evolutionary heritage. So what's the solution? This is what Musashi understood. You can't fight the crisis. You can't control your reactions in a crisis, but you can prevent your reactions in a crisis from controlling you. How? That's exactly what we'll learn. Chapter 2. Miyamoto Musashi versus Shishido Baiken, 1610, Japan. Miyamoto Musashi accepts the challenge of Shishido Baiken, known for his chained hook weapon. Baiken makes deadly moves with one arm. Each swing of his weapon is unpredictable and poses a dangerous threat. Musashi, on the other hand, is calm, careful, and completely focused. He analyzes his opponent's intentions, the range of his weapon, and his style of attack in advance. Baiken moves in quickly. The chain spins through the air and its weight gains dangerous momentum. Musashi readies his short sword, measures his steps, and turns his opponent's movement to his own advantage. With a single move, he throws Baiken off balance and knocks her to the ground. The outcome is clear even before the duel begins. Musashi understands that in a crisis, rather than reacting impulsively, one must anticipate uncertainty and be prepared. This is precisely your formula for crisis management. Managing a crisis begins with preparation before it erupts. Musashi's victory was no accident. His power came not from his sword, but from his mind. Now I will reveal the secrets of that mind. These 3 principles will be the key to managing every crisis in your life. Chapter 3. The Triple System, Musashi's Crisis Protocol. At the end of his life, Musashi wrote The Book of 5 Rings. In this book, he discussed 3 principles. These principles remain the foundation of crisis management even 400 years later. Principle 1. Fudoshin, unshakable mind. Fudoshin means unmoving heart, but this does not mean becoming frozen. Quite the opposite. It means not losing one's calm amidst the chaos outside. Musashi said, keep your mind like water. When still, reflect like a mirror. When moving, maintain its clarity. Translated into the modern crisis, the first thing you should do in a crisis is not to make a decision. The first thing you should do is to stop your mind. How? The 90-second rule. Neuroscience proves it. The chemical reaction of any emotion peaks and subsides within 90 seconds. So when you hear crisis news, wait 90 seconds. Do nothing. Just breathe. But what do most people do? They react immediately. They send messages immediately. They make calls immediately. And the decisions they make in that moment of panic make everything worse. You will do things differently. In a crisis, you will wait 90 seconds, and those 90 seconds will give you clarity. Principle 2, Heijoshin, daily mind. Heijoshin is keeping the mind calm and clear. What Musashi understood was this: you panic in a crisis because a crisis is abnormal. But if you normalize the crisis, the panic disappears. In other words, instead of viewing a crisis as an exception, see it as a natural part of business life. Think about it this way. If you know you'll experience a small crisis every month, will you be surprised when it happens? No, you'll be prepared. That's why the best leaders create crisis scenarios. If this happens, what will we do? Thinking about this once puts you 3 steps ahead when the crisis hits. Apply this immediately. Write down 3 possible crises for the project you're currently working on. A major client pulls out, someone on the team gets sick, the budget is cut in half, and make a simple plan for each one. A planned crisis is no longer a crisis, it's just a scenario. Principle 3, Senshin, a purified mind. Senshin means purified, prepared mind. Musashi said, don't let your thoughts enslave you. Thoughts are just tools. What does this mean? 1,000 things come to mind in a crisis. What if I lose my job? What if this project ruins me? What if everyone blames me? All these thoughts are normal. But these thoughts are not real. They are just scenarios. If you believe in these scenarios, they control you. But if you see them as just thoughts, you control them. There's a technique in Japanese Zen philosophy. Watch thoughts like clouds. Every fear, every worry that comes to mind comes and goes like a cloud. Just watch. Don't hold on. Don't push. Just let it pass. Apply this as follows. In a moment of crisis, write down your fears on a piece of paper, all of them. Then ask yourself, which of these is actually happening? Most of the time, none of them. Chapter 4, James's story. Now I'll tell you a true story. James was a project manager at a software company in Boston. He had a 6-month project, and everything was going according to plan. Then one morning, the client called. We want the product in 2 months, or we'll cancel the contract. The 6-month project had to be squeezed into 2 months. What was James's first reaction? Panic. He called his team into an emergency meeting. Everyone got stressed. They couldn't find a solution. They just made the problems bigger. That night, James went home and couldn't sleep. The next morning, he tried something different. He applied the 90-second rule. He sat down, closed his eyes, and took a breath. He did nothing. He just waited 90 seconds. Then he asked himself, is this a crisis or just a changing parameter? Suddenly, everything changed. The panic disappeared, because instead of seeing it as a crisis, he began to see the problem. Can 6 months fit into 2 months? No. But what can we fit into 2 months? James sat down with his team again, this time not with panic, but with clarity. Which features of the product must be included? Which ones can we postpone? They asked. Result: they delivered 60% of the product in 2 months. The customer was satisfied, the contract continued, they added the remaining features the following month. Did James solve the crisis? No, he redefined the crisis. Chapter 5, Pre-Crisis. Preparation, building walls. Musashi said, in times of peace, think of war. In times of war, think of peace. What does this mean? When there is no crisis, prepare for crisis. When there is a crisis, stay calm. Most people do the opposite. They relax when everything is fine and panic when a crisis hits. Result: they are caught unprepared. What you need to do: build walls before the crisis hits. Wall 1, Emergency Network. Who can help you right now? Who would you call if you lost your job? Who would you consult if there were problems with a project? Make a list of these people and stay in regular contact with them. Have coffee with them every 3 months. Build relationships when there is no crisis, because when a crisis hits, those relationships will save you. Wall 2, Financial Cushion. In Japanese philosophy, there is the concept of morinai. Avoid waste, be prepared. Save up a 3-month emergency fund so you have freedom of movement in a crisis. Most people say, I don't have money. But that's not the problem. The problem is priorities. Put 5% of your monthly income into an emergency fund. In 6 months, you'll have a cushion. Wall 3, skill diversity. Musashi didn't just use a sword. He knew how to use a bow, a spear, hand-to-hand combat, everything. Why? Because when one weapon didn't work, he could use another. Be like that. Don't rely on just one skill. If you're a project manager, learn some coding. If you're a software developer, learn some marketing. The more skills you have, the more flexible you'll be in a crisis. Start building these 3 walls today, because when the crisis comes, there will be no time. The best warrior wins before entering battle. Your victory also begins now while you prepare. Now let's move to the next step. Chapter 6. In a crisis. The triple question. All right, the crisis has erupted. What do you do now? Most people immediately start looking for a solution. Wrong, because they're solving the wrong problem. Musashi had a principle: see the enemy, see the battlefield, then choose your move. Let's translate this to a crisis. Ask 3 questions. Question 1. What is the real problem? Most crises aren't about the surface level issue. If a customer says, "I'm canceling the project," the real problem isn't the cancellation. Maybe it's the price, maybe it's communication, maybe it's a mismatch in expectations. If you react to the surface level problem, you won't solve the real one. Dig a little deeper. Ask, why is this happening? Then ask again. After asking why 5 times, you'll reach the real cause. Question 2. What is within my control? 90% of the crisis is beyond your control. You can't change the customer's decision, market changes, or company policy, but 10% is within your control. Your response, your energy, your focus, your next move. That's where you should focus. Musashi said, accept the things you cannot change and change the things you can. Question 3. What is the smallest possible progress? A crisis may seem big and overwhelming, but every major crisis is resolved through small steps. Ask yourself, what is the smallest step I can take right now? An email? A phone call? A meeting? Take that small step. Then take the next one. In Japanese philosophy, there is the concept of kaizen, small, continuous improvement. You can't solve a crisis in a day, but if you improve by 1% every day, you will have progressed by 30% in a month. These 3 questions are your compass in the storm. When everything around you is collapsing, when panic is rising, when everyone is running in different directions, you will stop. You will ask these 3 questions, and suddenly, clarity will emerge from chaos. But does this system really work? Let me show you with a real example. Chapter 7. Sarah's transformation. Let me tell you another story. Sarah was a director at a marketing agency in Chicago. One day, her biggest client called. This client accounted for 40% of her income. Your campaign didn't work. We're leaving. Sarah's first reaction: freeze, then panic, then blame. My team didn't work hard enough. The client is unreasonable. The market is tough. She did nothing for a week. She just worried. Then her advisor sent her a quote from Musashi. The enemy is not great. Your fear is great. Sarah sat down that night and did the triple inquiry. What was the real problem? The campaign or the mismatch in expectations? She talked to the client. She realized that the problem wasn't the result, it was communication. The client was unaware of the process, so they were insecure. What was within her control? She couldn't get the client back, but she could find new clients, and she could strengthen communication with her existing clients. What's the smallest step forward? That day, he sent 5 emails to old contacts, to potential customers. We have capacity available. Shall we meet? He said. 2 weeks later, he had 3 meetings. A month later, he signed 2 new customers. 6 months later, his revenue surpassed its previous level. Did Sarah solve the crisis? No. She learned from the crisis and emerged stronger. Chapter 8. Living with uncertainty. Now we come to the hardest part, uncertainty. A crisis is at least clear. There's a problem, you find a solution. But uncertainty? In uncertainty, neither the problem nor the solution is clear. The economy is getting worse. Will I lose my job? The industry is changing. Can I adapt? I don't know what will happen next year. This is where most people break down, because they see uncertainty as a threat. But in Zen philosophy, uncertainty is seen differently. There is a concept in Zen called mu, emptiness, the unknown. And this is not a threat, but an opportunity. Why? Because uncertainty means flexibility. If everything is certain, there is only one path. But if everything is uncertain, there are infinite paths. Musashi said, "Do not cling to anything. Be prepared for everything." How do you do that? Technique 1. Create scenarios. You can't predict the future, but you can think about possible scenarios. What's the best case scenario? What's the worst case scenario? What's the most likely scenario? Create a simple plan for each scenario. If A happens, I will do B. Now, uncertainty isn't so uncertain, because your mind is prepared. Technique 2. Experiment. Waiting in uncertainty is the worst strategy, because while you wait, you learn nothing. Instead, conduct small experiments. Learn a new skill, start a side project, explore a different industry. Every experiment provides you with data, and data reduces uncertainty. Technique 3. Return to now. There is a concept in the Japanese tea ceremony, ichigo ichi, this moment once. Every moment is unique, unrepeatable. If you get caught up in the future, you miss the present. Uncertainty drags you into future anxiety, but the only moment you can control is the present. What can you do today? Focus on that. Does uncertainty scare you? Good, because fear opens the door to change. Now I'll tell you a real story, Marcus's story. You'll see how uncertainty destroyed him, then how he rebuilt himself. Chapter 9, Marcus's loss and gain. Marcus was an analyst at a finance company in Seattle. In 2020, the pandemic hit. The company was going to downsize, but no one knew when or who would go. The uncertainty lasted 3 months. Marcus went to the office every day, but his mind was on the future. Will I lose my job? What will I do? How will I get by? For 3 months, he couldn't do anything. He just worried. Then he lost his job. But then something changed. Marcus realized, the job is gone, but so is the uncertainty. Now it was clear what needed to be done. He had to look for a new job, and at that moment, Marcus applied one of Musashi's principles. When one door closes, look at 1,000 others. He didn't just apply to his old industry. He looked at different industries. He looked at positions where he could use his secondary skills. He tried new ways to market himself. 2 months later, he received 3 offers. He chose one. The salary was higher than before. The job was more interesting. Marcus said, "Losing my job felt like the worst day, but it was actually the best day, because it pushed me to take action." Uncertainty may seem like loss, but often it's the beginning of transformation. Chapter 10, The Long Game, Anti-Fragility. Now I'll explain the most important concept, anti-fragility. This term was coined by Nassim Taleb. It means systems that grow stronger from shocks. Most things are fragile. They break when a crisis hits. Some things are resilient. They survive when a crisis hits. But anti-fragile things are different. They become stronger when a crisis hits. Which category do you fall into? If you have only one source of income, you are fragile. If the job goes away, you're finished. If you have emergency funds, diverse skills, and a strong network, you are resilient. If your job goes away, you will survive. But if you see every crisis as a learning opportunity, if you learn from every failure, if you experiment in every uncertainty, you are anti-fragile. Crises make you stronger. Musashi was anti-fragile. He fought 63 duels, each teaching him something. He was unbeatable in his final duel because he had learned from 62 mistakes. Be like that. Ask yourself, what did the last crisis teach you? What weakness did it reveal? What skill do you need to develop? Every crisis is a test. Every test is a lesson. Every lesson prepares you for the next crisis. You've learned the principles, you've seen the stories, you understand the system. But here's the truth. Knowledge without action is just entertainment. Musashi didn't become a master by reading about swordsmanship. He became a master by practicing every single day. Now it's time for your practice to begin. Chapter 11. Now it's your turn. Throughout this video, I've given you a lot. I explained Miyamoto Musashi's 3 principles: Fudoshin, Heijoshin, Senshin. I gave you the 90-second rule. I showed you the triple inquiry system. I explained the pre-crisis preparation walls. I shared techniques for living with uncertainty. I explained the concept of anti-fragility. But now the most important question, what will you do? Because this information will be useless if you don't take action today. The statistics say this. 9 out of 10 people who watch this video will do nothing. They'll say, nice video, and go on with their lives. Then, when a crisis hits, they'll panic again. Don't be one of those 9 people. Now, I'm giving you 3 concrete tasks. Task 1. Today, write down 3 possible crisis scenarios related to your job, your career, your projects, and write a 1-sentence plan for each one. Task 2. Set aside 10 minutes this weekend. Build your emergency network. Identify 5 people who can help you and send a message to one of them. Task 3. When the next crisis hits, and it will because crisis is part of life, apply the 90-second rule. Do nothing, just wait. Then ask yourself the 3 questions, and most importantly, write in the comments, I wrote my 3 scenarios, or I sent my first message, or I applied the 90-second rule. Just 1 sentence. But let that sentence be your commitment, because when you commit, you follow through. When you follow through, it becomes a habit. When it becomes a habit, your identity changes. And when your identity changes, the crisis no longer controls you, you control the crisis. Remember Musashi's final words. At the end of the path, the master is the path itself. Crisis management is not a skill you learn once. It is a lifelong practice. Every crisis prepares you for the next one. Every uncertainty makes you stronger. Now let me ask you a question. Who do you want to be a year from now? Someone who panics and freezes in crises? Or someone who turns every crisis into an opportunity, who finds a way through every uncertainty? Becoming that person starts today. It starts now. If this video added value to you, hit the like button. If you want others to see this message, share it, and subscribe because I regularly share strategies like this.